I think you can say without a doubt that Cuphead looks stunning. It really brings you back to some of the older cartoons like in the 1930s or something like that, and it just has a really unique style that's really nice. So development for this game actually started around 7 years ago, and it was inspired by the success of Super Meat Boy. The idea to make this game was sparked by Chad and Jared Moldenha's love for 30s cartoons, and they really wanted to bring that back to life. So Cuphead was all hand-drawn. Literally every aspect of it was hand-drawn. And it wasn't like drawing on a tablet and doing it on a computer. It was actually pen to paper. Right from the beginning up to pretty much the end. The backgrounds were watercoloured and the score was done by a live jazz band. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching this video, only kidding. But yeah, as I said, the uniqueness of this game is how closely it resembles 30s animation. And the reason for that is that they made use of rubber hose animation a lot in this game. And what that basically is when characters appear to have no bones and their limbs just fly all over the place and their bodies can like stretch really far and stuff like that. So this type of animation allowed them to do lots of crazy things back in the 30s, but also allowed Chad and Jared to incorporate a lot of those things into Cuphead. For example, with the sunflower and with lots of other characters, there's lots of stretching and weird like movements and stuff like that. And I mean, anything could happen. Tombstone could start attacking people and a whole load of other things too. And looping was a big thing in 30s cartoons too. You can see that lots of their actions in those cartoons are looped. And obviously modern games do have looping in them, although they try to hide it. Although this game didn't really try to hide it. It obviously has looping too because all games pretty much have looping, but it worked in a way that it fit in with the 30s cartoons because those cartoons just kind of looped in a way where you could tell it was looping if you looked to see where the loops are. So they did this, and they also kind of gave them this dancing vibe while they were standing still, like lots of the cartoons had too. So in a nutshell, most of the parts of this game are inspired from the 1930s. They used the 1930s cartoons a lot for inspiration for this game. And that also kind of included the timing of the animation too. So back in the 1930s and earlier, they didn't know about animation on twos, which is basically where you take the 24 frames, but then you only do 12 pictures within them. But it still looks fine because you still can't tell that they're individual pictures, and it saves time and stuff like that. But back then, they didn't know that you could do that, so they used to do 24 pictures for 24 frames. So they also did 24 pictures for 24 frames, but something clever that they did was, because obviously a game at 24 frames per second is going to look pretty bad, they made the game actually run at 60 frames per second, but the animations within them at 24 frames per second. And there's also some things such as the interactable objects that are running at 12 frames per second. So yeah, this was a really clever way of doing it, and I do think this is the best possible way they could have done it. It is really good and it gives a really nice effect. And then there's the character development. So inspiration for Cuphead himself was actually taken from a Japanese propaganda film where there was a Cuphead-like character that actually transformed into a tank. And for the characters, they used a range of characters ranging from Olive Oil to Betty Boop, and they kind of used all those as inspiration, as well as also bearing in mind that they're going to have to redraw this picture a lot of times, so they made it simple enough that they're going to be able to do that too. And to draw this, as I said, they worked with pencil and paper, they did it on light tables, and then they were sent off to be inked by the cleanup artists, basically, which artists that take the animations which are kind of roughened with pencil, and they use ink and they basically go over it. And yet to do this, they did use similar techniques to the techniques that traditional animation artists would have used, and I made a whole video about that, so be sure to check that at this side. I think I'm going to say it's this side. Although the difference is they didn't use model sheets, they just used kind of the drawings that they already had just by coming up with the characters, and they coloured it in Photoshop. They didn't use cell and paint on the back of that or anything like that. And yeah, after they were done with all of that, they put it all into the Unity engine, and then they got Cuphead. That is after they did all the coding and stuff like that, obviously. But yeah, that's it. That's how Cuphead was made. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and leave your comments down below in underneath the description, and be sure to subscribe to see more videos like this as well as movie reviews. So I'll see you all in the next video. Hope you all have a good day. Bye.